You ever realize the person you married is a total stranger on your wedding night? Because I did. The moment he tore the tablecloth and tried to steal everything my family ever built. The sound of glass shattering hit my ears before I even registered what was happening. One moment we were cutting cake, the next my husband, my brand new husband, was yanking the tablecloth from our reception table, sending fine china and crystal crashing to the floor. The noise was deafening, and so was the silence that followed. Every remaining guest froze. I stood there in my white dress, trembling. This wasn't a bad joke. This wasn't some passionate misunderstanding. It was real. And the man I just pledged my life to was screaming at me with the kind of fury that strips the air from your lungs. "You'll sign it over now," Mark shouted, eyes wild. "Every cent, every asset. Your inheritance belongs to me." He stepped toward me, knocking over a bouquet as he moved. His voice echoed off the reception hall walls. "By tonight, it will all be in my name." My mouth was dry. My hands gripped the edge of the table like I was about to fall over. In that moment it hit me. This wasn't just rage. This was a plan. Trap. Carefully laid. And I'd walked right into it wearing white and pearls. "Mark," I said softly, trying to stay calm. "It's our wedding day. Let's talk about this tomorrow, please." But my voice didn't matter. My words didn't reach him. He slammed his fist on the table hard. Flinched. So did the guests, who were now rapidly gathering their things and rushing out the door, pretending they hadn't seen a thing. All except one, Sandra. My best friend since childhood. My maid of honor. She hurried to my side, eyes wide with disbelief. "Kat, we need to leave. Now." I nodded, barely breathing. She didn't know it yet, but I had a plan. Quiet plan. One I'd hoped I'd never have to use. One I was now grateful I'd spent weeks preparing for. In my overnight bag upstairs was a manila envelope. Inside, everything. The deed to my family's historic inn, proof of ownership, financial records. My inheritance. The legacy my parents had left me before cancer took them both. Mark had been obsessed with modernizing the business, consolidating assets, taking control. Now I knew why. I looked at Sandra. "When they come back, I need you to make a scene. Keep them distracted. Just for a minute. Can you do that?" Her hand found mine. "Anything." I grabbed my clutch and bolted for the bridal suite, heart pounding. Behind me, I heard the echo of footsteps. Mark's voice again, this time lower, colder. And another man's voice too. Legal, measured. "Lawyer, course." My pulse thundered in my ears as I unlocked the suite door and found my bag. I pulled out my phone, dialing a number I hadn't used in years but still remembered by heart. Then I threw off my heels and slipped on the flats I'd hidden beneath the bed. This wasn't running away. This was war. I caught my reflection in the mirror. My mother's necklace around my neck, the one she gave me before she passed. Her spirit, her fire. I saw it in my own eyes now. Mark thought he'd married a naive innkeeper. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Sandra's voice crackled through the wall, raising the tension in the hallway like a storm. "Mark, she's not in here. Maybe she left." Her performance was Oscar-worthy. I knew she was buying me just enough time. I slipped the USB drive from the lining of my wedding planner and shoved it into my purse. Weeks ago, I'd seen something on Mark's laptop. Just a glimpse when he asked me to check his flight booking. He'd forgotten to close his tabs, and what I found made my blood run cold. Emails, plans. Not just about me but about my inheritance, about the B&B, about other women. He'd done this before. And he thought he could do it again. Sandra appeared at the bridal suite door, breathless. "He's coming. With his lawyer." I nodded, already slipping out of the wedding dress like it was a costume I couldn't get off fast enough. Underneath, I'd packed a plain navy blouse and jeans. I wasn't going to fight this in tulle. I was going to fight like myself. As I zipped the bag shut, Mark's voice rang out down the hallway. "Catherine, open this door. You're making a mistake." A mistake. Well, the mistake had been trusting him. I slid out of the room and headed down the back stairs. The fire alarm blared. Sandra had triggered it just like we'd planned, and chaos filled the building. Mark's lawyer looked dazed, clutching his briefcase. Mark, meanwhile, was storming through the smoke with his suit jacket flapping like a villain in a cheap movie. He spotted me. "What do you think you're doing?" I turned to him calmly. "Protecting what's mine." His eyes narrowed. "Don't be ridiculous. The renovation contracts are signed. The new staff is hired. You don't know how to run that place. You need me." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "those contracts are invalid. I never signed over power of attorney." I turned to the lawyer. "And I believe your firm has been processing documents with forged signatures. That's a felony." The lawyer's face turned sheet white. "Mr. Henderson, is that true?" Mark's face twisted into a snarl. "She's lying." But he didn't sound so confident anymore. Sandra stepped forward, still filming. "We have the originals. With her real signature. And we have the bank records showing your attempt to redirect funds from the inn to your personal account." "Stop talking," Mark barked, lunging toward me. But Sandra blocked him like a wall. "You want to try something in front of all these cameras? In front of the police arriving outside?" Sirens wailed in the distance. Mark froze. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. "You forgot one thing," I said. "My mother didn't just leave me the B&B. She left me the entire block. The real estate holdings are in a trust, untouchable by marriage or manipulation. You couldn't have accessed it even if I had signed your papers." His face collapsed. That was the moment he realized. He hadn't married an easy target. He'd married his reckoning. The police entered seconds later. And as I handed over the documents, I looked into Mark's eyes and gave him the same smirk he used when he first pretended to care about my business. "Hope the catering was worth it," I whispered. "Because that wedding feast. It was the last thing he was ever going to take from me." The next hours felt like a blur and a storm at once. Police officers moved through the reception hall collecting statements. Mark was separated from me immediately. His lawyer trailing behind like a scared intern. Sandra stayed by my side the entire time. Her presence like armor I didn't know I needed. They took us into separate rooms. I sat in what was supposed to be the bridal suite, now a war room. Detective Sarah Martinez entered. Her expression firm but kind. My mother's best friend. My godmother. And now the investigator on the case. "You did good, kid," she said, pulling up a chair across from me. "But I need to know, when did you first realize something was off?" I exhaled slowly. It started with little things. Inconsistencies in his stories. The way he'd changed the subject when I asked about his past. But the turning point. I looked out the window, trying to push past the lump in my throat. It was 3 weeks ago. Rainy Tuesday. I was working on a heritage photo display for the B&B when I got this email. No subject line. No signature. Just one sentence. "Before you marry Mark Henderson, we need to talk." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Rachel." He nodded. "Yeah. I almost deleted it. Thought it was spam. But something told me to read it." Rachel's story was almost identical to mine. Down to the whirlwind romance, the fast-tracked wedding, the push to merge finances. Only her story didn't have a rescue. She'd lost her family's restaurant, her home, everything. And she was desperate to keep it from happening to me. "I started digging," I told Sarah. He insisted on using a new accounting system. But I kept the old records, the handwritten ledgers my mom used. That's when I noticed the numbers didn't line up. Funds were moving. Small amounts at first, then larger. I reached into my bag and pulled out the notebook. Every time he made a business call, I took notes. Every time he left a document out, I made copies. And then I baited him. Sarah's eyes lit with interest. "The contractor." I smiled for the first time all day. "A friend of my dad's. I had him draft a fake proposal for renovations. Mark jumped on it within 24 hours. Even forged my signature to approve it. Why wait until the wedding day? She asked. I looked her straight in the eye. Because I wanted people to see who he really was. I wanted no room for denial. No way he could play the victim later. Sarah nodded slowly, visibly impressed. You didn't just catch him. You built the entire case. Shrugged. Not alone. Sandra brought in 2 cups of tea and sat beside me. Tell her about the emails. I opened my bag again and pulled out the USB drive. This is everything. 2 days ago, I found emails between Mark and a man named Anthony Carlton. They weren't just talking about investments. They were talking about women. Sarah went still. Carlton. Are you sure? Positive. Her fingers flew to her phone. Carlton's a known name in other fraud investigations. If we can link them. She didn't finish. But I knew what she meant. They were just the tip of something much bigger that were stacked high. Diagrams, photos, names. My name was on one of them, but so were many others. We found more in Mark's study, Sarah said gravely. Catherine, this isn't just about you. It's a network. Organized. Systematic. They target women who've inherited family businesses. Especially ones in grief. Vulnerable. My stomach twisted. How many? 12 confirmed victims. For lost everything. 3, including you and Rachel, fought back. The rest, we're reaching out now. Knock on the door. Sandra entered with a stack of old guest records from the B&B. They were watching you for months, she said. Emails match dates on the guest list. Mark didn't stumble into your life by accident. He was sent. I swallowed hard. After my mom's obituary. Sandra nodded. That's when it started. Then she dropped another bomb. Remember that corporate retreat that cancelled 6 months ago? The one that would have covered your taxes. She held up more emails. They cancelled it. On purpose. To make you financially desperate. So Mark could come in with solutions. I grabbed the edge of the table, trying not to vomit. They don't just exploit loss, Rachel added, walking in with fresh copies of Carlton's communication logs. They create it. They manufacture chaos. So you'll lean on them. And while you're leaning, they're signing everything out from under you. It was then that Agent Wilson stepped in. Miss Collins, we'd like to propose a sting. Your case could help expose the entire web. But we need bait. You want me to go public? Yes. Sarah touched my hand gently. Only if you're ready. But your story, and the evidence you've collected, it could protect so many others. I looked around the room. At Rachel. Indra. At the old photo on the wall of my parents opening the B&B with pride and hope. I'll do it, I said. On one condition. Everyone turned to me. We don't just expose this network. We build one of our own. A support system for women like us. A fortress. Rachel's eyes lit up. Like a secure business group. A decoy on the surface, but really an early warning system. Sandra opened her laptop. I can build that site. Make it secure. Add verification tools. Agent Wilson nodded. We'll help with cybersecurity. As the room buzzed with purpose, a strange feeling hit me. Not fear. Not rage. Oh, real hope. Sarah pulled out one last file. This list was in Mark's office. Next 6 months of potential targets. I looked down at the names. 12 more women. All living my life. And they didn't even know it yet. Clenched my jaw. Then we have work to do. 1 month later, the B&B that Mark tried to steal became the headquarters of a national movement. I stood in the grand entrance hall, watching as women from across the country arrived one by one. Some had been targeted. Some had already fought back. Some were just beginning to suspect the pattern. All of them were survivors, or about to be. Sandra approached, tablet in hand. We've got 312 confirmed. Full house. Smiled. A year ago, this building hosted a wedding that never truly happened. Today, it hosted something far more meaningful. The Legacy Protection Conference. Sarah, now heading a dedicated FBI task force, walked in and gave me a hug. Your mom would be proud. Not just for what you took down, but what you built in its place. Downstairs, Rachel was preparing to speak. She was our first success story. And now, she was our national outreach coordinator. Elena, our in-house legal strategist, had drafted airtight frameworks to protect small family businesses. Sandra led digital security. And me. I became the face of a movement I never asked for, but refused to walk away from. As I stepped on stage, wearing the same pearls my mother gave me, now a symbol of strength, not sentiment, I looked out at the crowd of women. 1 year ago, I began. I thought I was living a love story. But it wasn't love. It was a heist. And I was the prize. The room went still. But here's what they never counted on. When you target women who've built, inherited, and protected legacies, you don't just go after assets. You go after generations of sacrifice, of love, of history. And that makes us dangerous. I let that truth hang in the air. In the past year, we've helped expose 12 criminal operations, prevented 37 takeovers, recovered more than $40 million in stolen assets. But our greatest victory isn't in numbers. I gestured around the room. It's this. A network of women who now refuse to suffer alone. Who've turned every betrayal into a warning signal. Every scheme into a battle cry. Cheers rose from the audience, but I wasn't done. We are no longer waiting to be rescued. We are building our own rescue lines. Brick by brick. Business by business. Sister by sister. That night, as the sun set through the stained glass windows of the B&B, my childhood home, my battlefield, my headquarters, I checked our private message board one last time. A new post had come in. I think I'm being targeted. Everything you described is happening to me. What do I do? I typed back without hesitation. First, know this, you are not alone. See you. We believe you. And we know exactly what to do next. Welcome to the sisterhood. The house creaked around me. But it didn't feel old. It felt alive, with purpose. This wasn't just the end of a fraud. It was the beginning of a revolution.